first of all, then, let me take you back 25 years as it is now, and talk about the sad day that we learnt the news that Diana had died. Just tell me what you remember of that day, how you heard the news, and how you felt.
It's one of those days, I think if you were old enough, you could just never, ever forget, because it wasn't what anyone was expecting. I was definitely old enough. I was sat in my sitting room. I was actually pregnant at the time with my oldest child. And I think it was one of those days when you were just said, I was a bit sleepless and just turned on the telly and heard it. And it was absolute shock. I think I had never, when I look back, I do not think that across the world I've ever experienced this national grief, this collective grief that we all experienced. I remember, I think the next day or a couple of days later, leaving my flat then in East London and going down to Kensington Palace to lay flowers. And there was something incredibly magical, although very deeply sad, but everyone who was there were there because you felt like you had lost a friend or a sister. That's exactly how it felt.
Okay, and just tell me now a little bit about the charity that you run, how it started, and what kind of work that you do.
So the Diana Award was set up in actual response to that collective grief. And I think at the time, the government decided that there was something monumental about this person. It's so iconic that saw an entire nation grieving, and the government wanted to respond. And part of that response was setting the Diana Award up. We had literally, I think, one or two remits at the time, and it was one to celebrate her values. There was something about the values that she demonstrated, her ability to connect, the empathy, her selfless service, and the way that she made people feel seen, heard, and visible. And it was how do we almost capture those values and celebrate that? But secondly, how do we instill those values? If those values were what what made us grieve, that showed how important those values were. Therefore, how do we instill those values in generations to come? And that was literally kind of the blank slate we were given. And in today's world, that really I suppose for us, we look at the Diana Award and the work that we do really in two ways. One, we still celebrate young people who demonstrate those values. They receive an award, the Diana Award, which we give out every year at her birthday. So we've just had a ceremony on the 1st of July this year. And it's specifically for young people who, like I said, who demonstrate those values of selflessness, of service, who go over and beyond, who show empathy, and all of that demonstrated through their work. The other thing we do is actually, how do we empower how do we support young people? You know, when you talk about Diana's selflessness or her compassion, it was demonstrated through young people who perhaps were forgotten, people who maybe society didn't often talk about. Like when you think about AIDS at the time, or landmines, they were not issues that were mainstreamed. They were just issues that happened and no one really talked about them until she shone a spotlight on them. That's what we do as well in terms of our work. We understand that for us, we go where the pain is when it comes to young people. We understand the issues that young people face, and we tackle those problems. For example, in today's world, it will be issues around mental health, because that's a huge crisis that young people face. It will be the thousands and thousands of young people who are being left behind as a result of the social and economic barriers that they face in our society. And we shine a spotlight on these issues, but we don't stop there. We actually actively tackle it through our programs of intervention.
Okay, and you've kind of touched on it there, but how would you summarize what you think Diana's legacy is? What has she given to the world?
I would say that Diana's legacy is a legacy of compassion, a legacy of empathy, a legacy of the ability to connect with people, the ability to make people feel seen, the ability to make sure that no one's left behind. And in today's world, for me, it will remain about young people, that making sure that young people's futures are not limited by the structures around society. Young people's futures are not limited by their postcode or their family background, that everyone deserves the right to live to their full potential. And that's, for me, what Diana's legacy is about.
Okay, and obviously, it's been 25 years now, and obviously you work a lot with young people, and as time goes on, the people you work with may not remember Diana in the way that you and I do. So how do you feel? How do you feel about being able to keep her memory alive for the next 25 years and beyond? How do you feel about the future?
I think the thing about legacy is, if we celebrate someone's values, values are timeless. Like, it can never be out of fashion. Kindness can never go out of fashion, or empathy can never go out of fashion. And so if we focus the legacy on her values, and that the value, everyone wants to feel seen and visible, and everyone wants to feel like they matter. And if that remains the center, the core of her values and her legacy, then it's timeless. I never worry about young people. I mean, there are many young people that we work with today who were not here when she was, and yet it doesn't change their attitude towards understanding what this legacy means.
So we've spoken about the kind of work that you guys do. If people want to get involved and support your charity, how can they do that?
Oh, it would be so wonderful if people can do that. We receive no endowment, and all of the work that we do is completely funded by the public. So I would ask the public to look us up. It's Diana Awards. We are on every social platform. Just Google us and you'll find us. And genuinely, like, even £10, whatever, would change the life of a young person. So I'm going to say to those that love Princess Diana, love everything that she stood for, and you want to help continue that legacy, then please support our work.